Colleagues, we have the last speaker, Исмаил Фазель, from the British Columbia University, studying the English language from Canada, Vancouver.
Hello, everybody. So I can see myself in, well, two images. Well, so I guess good afternoon or good evening, perhaps, to you in Moscow. Speaking to you from my office near the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's a rainy day. I hope you've been enjoying your conference so far. And my understanding is that this is the very last keynote. So I presume most of you probably are, well, looking forward to hearing the last speech, and then I'll try to be not boring, and I tried not to bore you so much. So I'm going to share my other screen, share my slides with you. Okay, share that. Let me know if you can see my slides on the other screen. I believe you can now. Yeah.
Yes, we can see it. Yeah, you can start the
conversation. Awesome. So, as the title suggests, I'm going to be speaking to the intersection of AI, generative AI. Particularly, I'm going to be focusing on ChatGPT, which has come to be used as a shorthand, to represent all kinds of generative AI tools. And I'm going to be talking about how it impacts academic writing across various fields of study. So here it's October 20th. I believe, we're in a different time zone. So this is a Canadian custom. I'm going to start with land acknowledgement at UBC. So I would like to start by acknowledging that I'm speaking to you from the Vancouver Point Grey campus, which is located on the traditional ancestral territory of the Indigenous people of Canada, who are the traditional owners of the lands from which I'm speaking from. So this is me, a younger version of me, perhaps. I am a faculty member at the University of British Columbia. I'm also an adjunct professor at Yorkville University, which is affiliated with Toronto Film School. I previously taught at Sаймона Фрейзера University, which is another major university in Vancouver. And I have had other responsibilities, including, so I have been serving as a Cambridge certified IELTS examiner. IELTS is a proficiency test in English. It's like TOEFL exam. It stands for International English Language Proficiency Testing Program. And I've had different responsibilities and duties in my portfolio, including local, national, and international responsibilities, some of which include, for example, I'm a member of the Academic Integrity Committee. So I have had the experience of, I should say the painful experience of having to do with plagiarism cases at Yorkville University since 2021. And also at Sаймона Фрейзера University, when I had my position, I served again on the Academic Integrity Committee. I am the co-founder of the Canadian Consortium on Second Language Writing. It's a national scholarly body across Canada. And I served as the chair-elect of the English for Specific Purposes at TESOL International Association. All right, so some of my publications include, but are not limited to, so these are the major strands of publications I've published on academic integrity in writing. including these. And I will send the slides to Anastasia right after the presentation, so you will have access to them. And I've also published on predatory publishing, so malpractices in scholarly publishing. This is my Google Scholar profile. As you can see, I've had over 600 citations thus far. And this is my latest publication, which came out in September, just in September. So last month, it's on predatory practices in scholarly publishing and knowledge sharing. So there are these fake predatory conferences, as well as, journals and book publishers, which has led to a lot of concerns across academia. So it's a publication by Routledge. So now let's get to the crux of the matter, which is the focal theme of this keynote speech. So let's have a little bit of background to the emergence, or rather the genesis of generative AI. So the question might arise as to, okay, what is generative AI? We've been hearing this buzzword reverberating across academia for the past, particularly for the past, year or so, increasingly so, I would say, across the world. I'm sure in Europe and in Russia as well. So generative AI, broadly speaking, refers to artificial intelligence apparatus that can yield, that can produce, that can generate content, original content. Now, the content can be text, it can be visual, it can be audio even, it can be music, it can be in the form of just, static images, or in the form of cartoons even. So now the question is this something new? So when I hear people, because I also give workshops to train faculty and also students, so the question that I keep encountering and being asked is, okay, so we're shocked. Is this something that came just out of the blue? So the resounding answer is no, this is not something new. In fact, we have been using, for a while now, we have been using some instances of AI in our lives. One example is Siri. So on my phone, for example, on my iPhone, I have Siri, Alexa. So chatbots in customer service, they are common, like you have questions, and then rather than you corresponding to and communicating with, a real human being, you are corresponding with a chatbot, in a lot of online stores, even in Amazon. So there are text generating applications like ChatGPT, which is the latest version, but there are other applications like Perplexity. So there are generative AI examples that produce music, like you can generate novel new music, like Magenta. You can produce new games. So imagery, so DAL, E3, Deep Dream. These are just some examples. You can generate videos like Pictory. Sometimes, I use Pictory, to produce educational videos. Anyway, so there are different types of AI tools, and I will get to ChatGPT and how it impacts academic writing in a bit. But there are some other applications that we already are acquainted with, right? Undeniably so, arguably so. So translation tools like Google Translate or DeepL Translator. There are conversion tools powered by AI, like speech to text, Otter. I use Otter sometimes. So here in Canada, this is very common for online meetings. They use Otter.ai to generate memos, right? So rather than like a secretary having to take notes and memos, now we have AI, other AI taking notes, text to speech. So also, like, when you watch, for instance, a clip on the internet or like YouTube videos, for instance, you have the transcription, you have the captioning, that's all powered by AI. So we also have predictive text powered by AI, in emails, in Google, on phones. So this is an example. This is an example that I captured. So you start searching in Google. So like, what is text predict? So Google generates, so rather, I should say perhaps it predicts the text, yeah? How? Using AI. So we already have been using AI. It's not something entirely and totally new. There are text editors like Quillbot, Grammarly, for example, imagery generators like Copilot, DAL, text generators are the main source of concern that, so the top concern that has been burgeoning in academia is mostly due to text generators powered by AI, including ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not the only one. There are others like Jasper, for example, but some of these are free, some of them are subscription-based, fee-based. Now, AI that generates entire texts. Now, the entire text, it can be a paragraph, it can be, parts of an essay, or it can be even, a dissertation. It can even be an article in its entirety. So now the question is, what is this fuss over ChatGPT? And remember, ChatGPT has come to be used as a shorthand to refer to represent all arrays of, so an array of AI-powered tools. AI-powered tools often are referred to by a lot of people as ChatGPT. But actually, ChatGPT is just one very common, very salient type of that. So ChatGPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, as probably we all know, it came to the fore on November 30th of 2022 in California by a company called OpenAI, which in the past was one of the companies that was launched by Elon Musk, although he's not the owner now. So it is an AI-powered chatbot, like a robot, that has been gaining unprecedented popularity. So in the first week since it was launched and released, over 1 million people. Now it's probably 100 times that amount. But within 1 week, it broke a record basically. Now previously, so prior to this version, we had other variants of ChatGPT. And in full disclosure, I should note that I'm not an IT expert, so this is not my forte, an area of expertise. My area of expertise is academic writing and professional communication. That's my area. But I have some familiarity with digital literacy and AI literacy. All right, so there have been previous versions of even ChatGPT. Now we have ChatGPT 4, yeah? So how do they function, like these AI-powered tools, most notably ChatGPT? So they function based on large language models. So they are trained on massive, huge, enormous databases, textual databases from the internet that use machine learning, deep learning, to yield text that is very close, is very comparable, sometimes hard to distinguish, hard to discern even, in response to input, in response to prompts, it is this company, so OpenAI is a company, is the OpenAI's latest version, latest product, basically, of large language models. And it's well known because it can, engage in intelligent conversations with human beings. Okay, so the new chatbot model, now we have chatbot 4, well, we have ChatGPT version 4, which I believe it still is fee-based. So what is so particular? What is so special about it? What sets it apart? Okay, it's more efficient, it's more accurate in response to, when it comes to responding to input and prompts. It's more adaptable. Okay, so now that we've reviewed what ChatGPT is, and remember, ChatGPT is just one, probably the most well-known one, the most widely used, ubiquitously utilized AI tool, not the only one. Okay, so now let's pivot to how it impacts academic writing. What are the implications for academic writing? And remember, why is academic writing so quintessential to academia? Because it's the main means, it's the main way of exhibiting and evaluating knowledge and skills. So whatever field of study you are in, so professors from all across different disciplines, whether you're in engineering or medical science, or say in literature or in history, the main way of demonstrating and assessing knowledge and skills is, via academic writing. So, in fact, this image and some of these images have been generated by DAL3. I deliberately used DAL3. So there were mixed reactions. So a plethora of responses, reactions, ranging from polemics, ranging from... sorry, is there a question? Okay, so ranging from attacks and polemics to, concerns, consternations. So a lot of people, right? A lot of people came to the fore, started, saying academic writing is doomed. It's the end of essay writing. It's the end of academia. Some other people, however, they were more positive, more optimistic. Okay, so my view, and if you take a global look at what has been published and different academic responses across the academic community, well, the best the best metaphor that can capture the totality, the entirety of the gestalt of responses across academia is that it's a double-edged sword. So AI, namely generative AI and ChatGPT, is a double-edged sword, right? So it can have both pitfalls and promises, merits and demerits, advantages and disadvantages. So why is it a double-edged sword? I'm going to talk about both the benefits, potential uses, and of course, I will touch upon the concerns and where these concerns stem from. And of course, I will offer some suggestions as to how, as academics, we can embrace and tap into the potential uses and applications and benefits of academic writing. It's a new reality. The way I see it, it's a new reality. It's not going away. It's going to be with us. It's going to be part of the landscape, right? So what I often mention in talks with other professors is that, so when calculator came to the fore, when it was invented, did it end math education and math instruction? No, it didn't. But people started adapting to that, right? Okay, so where did the consternations, right, shocks and concerns, where did they originate from? Where did they stem from? Why? Why were people so worried and anxious? Where did this angst and anxiety came from? It came from the capability, the amazing, unparalleled ability of ChatGPT in particular, and other AI-powered writing tools, which, evidence indicates can do better than human beings, can do even better than human beings. So on some high-stakes, consequential tests, right? Occupation-specific tests even. So for example, USMLE in the United States, so from where I live, the United States is like 20 minutes away from here, the border. So USMLE is taken by people who want to be doctors, basically, so by medical students. GRE, so it stands for Graduate Record Examination, SAT, or SAT, some people read it this way. So a scholastic aptitude test. This is taken by students. Almost any student in the United States, in Canada, who wants to enter university has to take it. So they use ChatGPT to test its capabilities, and people were amazed by, they were astounded by what really turned out and emerged. And what emerged was that ChatGPT can do better than human beings on those tests. So there was room for concern. People said, okay, is it gonna give rise to more violations of academic integrity, more plagiarism, more cheating? So again, evidence indicated, further trials indicated that ChatGPT can perform really competently, can fare well in any writing task, any writing essay that you give it. However, there are some caveats, okay? So it's not a, magic trick, really. There are some caveats, okay, which I will get to. Now, so people who panicked, a lot of people expressed grave concerns and legitimate concerns. So there were pieces published, like the college essay is dead. This was published, in 2020 as a response. So almost a month after, or less actually, than the release of ChatGPT. So this was published at the end of high school English. How ChatGPT, this came out in 2023. How ChatGPT and other AI systems may ruin the ability to write. So some people expressed immense worries and dissatisfaction. They said it's the end of academia, it's the end of writing, but it's not the end of writing. That's what I believe in. So there were concerns, legitimate concerns, grave concerns over violations of academic integrity. So you notice that academic integrity, has been misspelled. Yeah. So spelling issues, grammar issues. What if the students won't learn? What if the students would delegate everything to ChatGPT? These were the concerns. So people thought that the emergence of ChatGPT can pose a threat, can pose a menace, pretty much like contract cheating. So what is contract cheating? Students would hire somebody to write for them. Now, in this case, they don't hire, but they use ChatGPT rather than paying a person, they use ChatGPT to generate their writing that is required of them. Now, what is the flip side? Okay, so that's the pessimistic, dark view, dim view, doomed view, if you will. Now, what is the flip side? And this is the side that I subscribe to as well. So what is the flip side? So the flip side is that, okay, so ChatGPT can write, okay, why don't we use its potential? Why don't we tap into and deploy the potential of ChatGPT as an assistance, as a form of writing assistance and support to our students and us? So writing support for students, in particular for students whose first language is not English. So it can be used, to provide feedback. It can be used if guided, if the faculty, if the instructors can have the literacy, can have the assessment literacy, the AI literacy, to incorporate ChatGPT in their instruction, if they can raise students' awareness of how and when to use ChatGPT and when not to use ChatGPT, I believe it can serve as a sort of assistance and support. It can be our assistant rather than our replacement. So students, like I said, who don't speak English as their first language, they can benefit from editing services offered by ChatGPT, by translation, so they can practice their English. It helps ease and alleviate. There's some emerging research, empirical research, indicating one of those projects is being undertaken by a colleague of mine at the University of Calgary, Sarah Eaton. And it shows that. So preliminary findings of those types of research projects that are still in progress indicate that it can help students with language barriers. So there's a caveat, though. There's a caveat. What is the caveat? The caveat is that ChatGPT can be wrong. ChatGPT can generate fake references and citations. It can't really generate, in particular, the ChatGPT that is non-paid, that is version 3.5, it still uses the database of facts and empirical evidence available up to September 2021. September 2021, right? Everything prior to that, yes, it has access to it. But after September 2021, the database is not accurate, is not updated, right? So it always needs human supervision. Technically, they call it human in the loop. That is, it always demands, necessitates, requires involvement of humans in the decision-making process. So it's an assistant at best. Okay, so there are two main approaches to the emergence of generative AI in academic writing. One is punitive, like punishing, right? Penalty-based. Another is pedagogical, nurturing, supporting approach, which I also promote and subscribe to. So punitive approach, educative approach, right? These are the two approaches. And I'm going to be focusing more on the educative response and approach to the emergence of, and I call on academics to embrace new technology. Okay, so this is the punitive approach. Don't do it using AI detectors, like, for instance, there's something it's called Check GPT, Zero GPT, which has been developed by a Canadian scholar, actually, Turnitin indicator. Now, what is educative approach? Educative approach is focusing on, okay, so what causes academic dishonesty? Why are people worried? Maybe we can address those concerns. Maybe we can prevent or at least minimize or deter students from committing academic dishonesty using AI. So according to research, the most common reasons of plagiarism, which I have also published on, are lack of understanding on part of students, lacking time, students not being aware of what academic dishonesty is. So inadequate knowledge of students time management issues, when they're under time constraint, when they're on a time crunch, when there is, competition, like to get the highest grade at any cost, it pushes them to cheating. Now they have ChatGPT, so it's easier than ever before. And there are issues that we as faculty need to address in terms of assessment design, in terms of course design. There are loopholes, there are issues, there are loopholes that we need to plug if we are, to discourage students from committing AI assisted plagiarism. Okay, so this is one way of discouraging plagiarism and promoting awareness at UBC. So this is the UBC policy where I am the faculty at. So UBC does not ban, does not ban using generative AI. So what we've been told to do is to include a statement regarding AI use and application in our course outline, in our syllabus. This is an example, by one of my colleagues at the Faculty of Education at UBC. So use of generative AI in this course. So if students want to use generative AI, they need to acknowledge it. So you use it, you cite it, you acknowledge it. All right, this is another example. So if you choose to use any AI power tool, you need to justify it. You need to provide a rationale. You need to acknowledge it. This is from my own course. This is a course that I'm about to teach actually in a few hours. So in a few hours, because this is Friday morning here. So this is what I've included, what I've incorporated into my own course outline and syllabus. So using ChatGPT or other AI powered tools for assignments in this course is not recommended. So that's what I tell students. We believe that your experience in the course and understanding course concepts will be best rewarded through personal and authentic engagement with the material. So I have included that. A key expectation of academic integrity is for students to do and complete their assignments on their own. Moreover, generative AI is likely to generate inaccurate and unreliable information. So I tell my students now, and I require them that if you decide to use AI, you need to justify it. You need to use APA style, like to indicate clearly to me why, you've decided to use ChatGPT or any other AI tools. Now, when it comes to assessment design, so I believe we can design out plagiarism and AI misuse through our planned and purposeful assessments. How? So we can encourage students to use the material that is up to date. So I encourage my students to use cases that are current and up to date, right? Remember ChatGPT, its database only is updated up to, not after, September 2021. We can make assessments that tap into higher order Bloom's taxonomy. Now, Bloom's taxonomy, you're all educators, remembering is at a lowest tier, understanding, application. So these are the higher order thinking orders, right? Thinking capacities, cognitive capacities, creation, evaluation, analysis. Okay, so we can design different types of questions. We can move away from questions that test remembering, understanding. We can move further towards higher order thinking questions, like applying knowledge and skills, like further analysis that ChatGPT cannot do, possibly, evaluating. So giving them something that demands their own evaluation, using up-to-date, especially I encourage my students to use, so if they to use the classroom material. So if they make references to the lectures that I give in class, they get a better grade. Yeah. So, and I want them to use their own analysis, apply what they learn, something that ChatGPT cannot do quite conceivably. And to create something new, like last year, I asked one of my courses, the students in one of my courses, to produce a podcast. Rather than writing, I asked them to produce a podcast. In the subsequent term, I gave them the opportunity to produce either a podcast or a YouTube video. So to produce a video rather than writing. So multiple means of representation and expression of their knowledge. So these are lower order types. I'm going to skip them, like remembering, right? What is and things like that. So understanding also, is something that ChatGPT can easily do and replicate. Now, higher order ones, they involve and entail application of knowledge. So one of the things that I haven't done, but I know some of my colleagues do probably next term, I will start doing this. I ask the students actually to generate something using ChatGPT, to bring it to class, and then I ask them to critique it. That's the plan, right? So that's what some of my colleagues do. That's what I want to do, but I haven't done. So application of knowledge, analysis. So why don't we give students something like a text generated by ChatGPT and ask them to analyze it? What are the flaws? What are the potentials? How can you improve it, right? So that's what I plan to do. I know some of my colleagues have started doing that. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm moving on a bit faster. And also synthesis. So giving the students the possibility, the option, like a menu of options, one of which can be synthesis of sources, right? Which is something that ChatGPT is not good at, right? So capitalizing on, cashing on, tapping into those areas where ChatGPT cannot function better than human beings, right? And I will share the slides with you after the presentation. So focusing more on the process rather than the product, right? How? So we can ask students to, for example, come up with a first draft, second draft, third draft. The more emphasis we lay on the process, the less likely, typically, it would be for them to resort to AI misuse. Yeah. So breaking down the assignment into stages and then, overseeing the progress, requiring them, to commit to the process. So reducing the stakes. So we got to ask ourselves, why do students resort to, take recourse to AI to do their assignments? Well, because it's really high stakes, it's consequential. Now, what if we use a ladder-like approach? What if we scaffold their assignments? What if we break it down into steps and sequences whereby they need to do a little bit of it, check with us, engage in feedback, peer feedback, self-assessment, and teacher feedback in the process. So constructive feedback also, I find, is very helpful. So we need to make sure that, of course, the feedback is timely. We are available to students. So if we want to say, let's break down the assignment into, say, like 5 components or 3 components, then we need to make ourselves available, obviously, right? There are other tips like in-person exams. So I know at Sаймона Фрейзера University, some departments actually have started going back to in-person exams. So variety of means of assessing mastery, like I said, podcasting, like, rather than just confining and restricting exhibition of knowledge, evaluation of knowledge and skills to writing, what about podcasting? What about more oral exams? What about, for example, giving them the option of, working together, on a multimodal project. So the crux of the matter is that we need to give them an assignment or assessment option that can't be Googled or done by AI, something that transcends the capability of AI or needs assistance of AI. So other ideas, to do would be, for example, to giving students, a series of sources from which they, can draw from. Anyway, in the interest of time, I know that we're getting close to the end. So assessment design, assignment design, either individually or collaboratively, allowing students to work in the process, obviously, would reduce the possibility of students having to resort to AI. Now, there are some other strategies, like I said, for example, we can include, a set of annotated references. So we say, well, you can only use these references, which I have annotated for you so that they won't, because that's something that ChatGPT cannot do. So I'm going to skip. I don't know how much time I have. I believe I'm getting close to the end. So I have some other tips to share with you, but I will try to skip. So another notion is cultivating the notion of AI literacy. So what is AI literacy? AI literacy has been defined as the ability to understand, use, monitor, and critically reflect on AI use without necessarily being able to develop AI models themselves. It encompasses capabilities as well as a willingness for AI to help inform teaching and learning methods. So we need to promote and cultivate AI literacy, I argue. So for educators, for faculty, this may consist of using educational technology, edtech, by that I mean educational technology, to achieve faster, fairer grading. We can use it for grading purposes. We can use it to provide feedback, to assist us with feedback. We can, like I said, empower students, to use their higher level thinking order. These are some resources that I've shared. I'm going to share these with Anastasia, some very helpful resources. So like this one, this resource, it's called Text Gen Ed. It's developed by an organization in the United States called Writing Across the Curriculum. It's a collection of assignments for you to use potentially that require students to use generative AI in a creative way. Assignment themes include AI literacy, ethical considerations, professional writing, and other similar themes. So you can use this. Learn prompting. This is another website. Other source introductory course on how to create better prompts. I'm going to share these with you now. I'm going to, I plan to actually show you these websites and how they function, but I'm running short time, so I will share these slides and resources with Anastasia after I'm done, and you can use them, you can have a look. So what are basically these suggestions in summary? So there is no magic bullet, there's no panacea, but there are some steps that we can take. There are some courses of action that we can willingly take. We can change the lens, going from a punitive to a pedagogical, educative perspective, because AI is here to stay. AI is going to be part of the landscape. Better embrace it, right? If it's forced, then there is no banning it. Banning won't stop students, from using it. We can focus on deterrence rather than detection. We can design out plagiarism in assessment and course design. Like, these are some of the tips that I shared with you, like, using higher order thinking skills. We can promote and cultivate AI literacy amongst our students and in ourselves and in our faculty. So those websites that I showed you, these are sample websites that can be potentially of help. And we can, I believe, use potential affordances of AI in our writing classes. I wanted to show you some samples, but I think I'd better stop in the interest of time. If you're interested, I have some slides that I can show you, like how, for example, you can use AI in writing classes, in academic writing classes. I have some slides, but I think I need to stop in the interest of time to stick to the time limit. Thank you for your patience, interest, and staying to the very last keynote, and I wish you all the best. So I guess, well, there are questions, some questions, so I'm at your service. I have like 15 minutes, to
Ismail, thank you for such a nice report. And generative. And to a great extent, you spoke about the use of artificial intelligence in writing. You basically skipped the opportunities provided to artificial intelligence by processing the work. It's hard to define, it's hard to build the tasks which would exclude the use of artificial intelligence from this point of view, whether this problem is acute and how you can work with that.
Okay, so any questions? Yes.
You concentrated on the writing capabilities of ChatGPT.
Yes.
But yeah, we know that we have wide possibilities of summarizing of text, of searching, retrieval, and so on, such tasks. And it's obvious that these abilities can be used by students in their process, in their study. And these possibilities are much harder to explain in the policies
Right.
of the course. What do you think about it?
So, well, I guess there are 2 points that I would like to touch upon. So first off is there are some ways in which we can check like whether students have basically used ChatGPT or not. One is, for example, a change in the style of writing, so we can be on the lookout for any changes, sudden changes in, style. So sometimes students, they use not like the full essay, not all the essay, not the entire essay has been written by ChatGPT, but rather they use some, like chunks, or they use paragraphs. So if there are any changes, within the text, or what I have started doing is that in the first session, as a surprise writing task, I give them paper. I say, okay, I want you to write on this topic, and you have an hour. So I get a baseline sort of data in the first session. So now some may argue that it may not be always accurate, but I get a writing sample. So I compare the writing samples, like writing 1, writing 2, writing 3. So that can only reduce the possibility. Also, I think it's important for us to show our awareness. So I show them ChatGPT in class, and I tell them, look, I also know, how to use ChatGPT. So when they know, they say, oh, you also use ChatGPT? I say, yes, I also use ChatGPT. So if you use it, I would know. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, thanks. And another question. If we'll follow the path you have omitted for teaching and testing knowledges with ChatGPT in mind, it will possess more stress on the lecturer, on the professors, and it's much harder to do their work in such way. It's a problem. We have no time, literally.
That's absolutely right. That's, you know, a valid concern and a legitimate concern. So that's absolutely right. So this, I believe, is part of the responsibility of universities, departments, to train and also like to, so at UBC, for example, we have a teaching and learning center. So they facilitate this. So they assist us a lot. So I believe teaching and learning centers, so instructional designers, teaching assistants. So like, I remember last year we had one teaching assistant serving 3 faculty members. So one young trained teaching assistant who would help course design, because courses need to be redesigned, assignments need to be redesigned, and professors are already teaching, you know, they are doing research, they have their families also, they have their health to take care of, and it's post-COVID, people still have that, you know, post-COVID syndrome trauma. So I believe more assistance. So here is where I believe departments, universities, they can basically allocate more resources to support professors by means of training them, but also bringing in technical assistants who can, like, not one technical assistant per each professor, but rather like one technical assistant serving, say, 5 professors or 3 professors, someone who can redesign these, you know, very quickly and can be paid.
Thank you, Ismail. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, and we'll need to close our session. So thanks.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation. It was a real pleasure. I hope, you know, to see you sometime in Canada, in Vancouver. If you come to the United States, Canada, to Vancouver, feel free to get in touch. I'd be happy to meet. Yeah. And if I happen to visit Moscow, I'd be more than happy, you know, to pay you folks a visit. And I wish you all the best. And I will shortly, I will email all the slides to Anastasia, and she can share them, you know, with the conference attendees. Thank you so much.
Thanks.